Flash uses his super speed to go back in time, but ends up creating a new reality with no superheroes and which is about to be invaded by an insane enemy from Krypton. Today we're going to recap the story of the movie, The Flash, from 2023. In a diner in Central City, Barry Allen, also known as the superhero The Flash, waits for breakfast. While waiting, he receives a call from Alfred, Batman's butler, asking for his help in Gotham City. Even though his energy reserves are low, Barry quickly puts on his suit and sets off at sonic speed to answer the call. When he arrives in Gotham, Flash stops in front of a hospital, where the ground begins to collapse. Far away, Batman descends from his ship on a motorcycle and contacts Barry to explain what has happened. The crime boss's son, Falcone, has stolen a deadly virus from the hospital's underground laboratory and is about to flee the city. Batman then leaves Flash in charge of saving the hospital patients, while he sets off in search of the villain and the virus. Barry accepts the mission and Batman begins his pursuit of Falcone's son. On the roads of Gotham, Batman gets closer and closer to his targets and fires a chain of thorns to stop the bandits. However, the driver manages to dodge the trap and his colleagues draw their weapons to stop the hero. Meanwhile, Flash is helping the hospital's patients, but he's running out of energy because he hasn't had breakfast. To make matters worse, the east wing of the hospital begins to collapse and right at the top is the nursery, with dozens of babies inside. Finally, the hospital collapses and the babies are thrown out, along with the nurse and a therapy dog. A tragedy is about to happen, but Barry uses his last bit of energy and climbs through the wreckage of the building to reach the babies. Time moves slowly for the hero, who tries to come up with a plan to save everyone. After some thought, he goes to a candy machine that has fallen from the building, recharges his energy and then lines up the babies in midair. After that, Flash picks up a stretcher and places the babies, one by one, safely on it, along with the dog. Finally, the nurse is missing, and the hero picks her up before she falls to the ground and takes everyone safely away from the wreckage. Thanks to his speed and intelligence, Flash has saved the day, but he has yet to capture the criminals who caused all this. At the same time, Batman continues to pursue them relentlessly, until one of the criminals shoots at a truck, which flips over and explodes in front of Batman. Even so, Batman's preparation is greater than that of the bandits and he jumps into the flames and activates his gliding wings. He then fires his bat hook at the criminal's car and is dragged along the road, but he still doesn't intend to let them get away. Then one of the criminals tires of the hero's persistence and draws his gun, but Batman is not in his field of vision. Suddenly, the hero appears on top of the car, throws the man out and goes in to capture Falcone's son. When he sees Batman, the driver doesn't think twice and jumps out of the car, leaving it running out of control. As a result, the vehicle drives off the bridge and is about to fall into the open sea, but the hero fires his grappling hook and manages to hold on to the criminal. Even so, the situation worsens when the suitcase containing the virus opens and, if it falls into the water, half the population of Gotham will be wiped out. All seems lost until a golden lasso grabs the hero's arm, and he immediately recognizes who it belongs to, Wonder Woman. She pulls them both to safety and soon after, Flash shows up, albeit a little late. Thanks to their teamwork, Gotham is saved and Barry bids farewell to the heroes to return to the diner, just in time to get his breakfast. However, all the confusion in Gotham has made him late for his job at the lab and he's almost fired. Hours later, Barry finishes his shift and, to his surprise, runs into a friend from college, journalist Iris West. The two reminisce about the past, until the subject turns to the arrest of Barry's father, Henry. The journalist wants to know more about the case and Barry says he's sure that Henry was wrongly accused of killing his mother, Nora. After the conversation, Barry returns home and finds an envelope containing a USB stick belonging to Bruce Wayne. Inside is the recording from the market camera, which would serve to prove Henry's alibi on the day his wife died. Unfortunately, it doesn't serve as proof of his innocence, as his face isn't shown on camera. Barry calls to break the news to his father, who tries to calm him down, but his son goes to the old family home and recalls the fateful day. It seemed like another happy morning in Barry's childhood, when his mother was making pasta with tomato sauce. The problem was that she forgot to buy an extra can of sauce and asked her husband to get another one from the market. Unfortunately, when Henry returns, he finds his wife seriously wounded with a knife, while Barry sees everything and has no reaction. After this sad memory, Flash starts to run away, but his speed gets out of control, to the point where he crosses the barriers of time. Frightened, Barry tries to stop, but he realizes that he is inside a chronosphere and all around him are the events of the previous day. Flash soon realizes that, thanks to his speed, he has done the impossible and managed to go back in time. Shortly afterwards, he calls Bruce for a chat and tells him that he might be able to save his parents if he goes back to the day of the tragedy. However, Bruce warns him that tampering with time could have unimaginable consequences. While pondering the matter on the way, Barry meets Iris again and invites her to his apartment. However, his mind can only think of the possibility of saving his mother. He talks about it with Iris and shows her the recording at the market. At that moment, Barry realizes that the whole tragedy happened because his mother forgot to buy the extra tomato sauce. So, if he changes this small event, the consequences on the timeline won't be so serious. So, after saying goodbye to Iris, Barry travels back in time to the day his mother went to the market and put the extra tomato sauce in her shopping cart. Afterwards, Barry returns to the Chronosphere and realizes that the temporal events around him have changed. Suddenly, however, a mysterious being appears who, like the Flash, also possesses the power of super speed. He then sets out to attack the hero, who is thrown out of the sphere and back into the real world. After recovering, Flash sees the entity disappear into the time portal and realizes that he is in front of his old house. He decides to see if the change in the past has worked and is happy to learn that his mother is alive. Barry has finally achieved the life he always dreamed of, but it all turns into a nightmare when he sees a younger version of himself about to enter the house from the window. Desperate, he prevents his other self from entering and sneaks him into the room. The younger Barry is confused, but his older version explains that, due to the blow he received from the mysterious being, he has returned years before his original time. Finally, he says that he has messed with the timeline and that, as Bruce predicted, this act has completely messed up space and time. In order not to cause any more damage, the adult Barry decides to leave, but a storm breaks out and he asks his significant other what day it is. It is revealed that Barry is not only in the past, but that he ended up on the exact day he was struck by lightning and gained his powers. To make matters worse, if this event is not repeated, he could lose his super speed and consequently be trapped forever in this timeline. With no other choice, he takes his other self to the laboratory where it all happened. The two manage to break in and reach the accident room, but young Barry finds it too risky and refuses to go through the experiment. The two argue, but as expected, the lightning bolt goes through the laboratory, only this time, both Barrys are hit by it. Fortunately, the younger version gains his powers and now they both need to get out of there as soon as possible. The adult Barry carries his young version in his arms and prepares to walk through walls, using his ability to vibrate his molecules. However, he is unable to do so and soon realizes that he has lost his powers. Even so, the two manage to escape from the lab and go to Barry's apartment. There, the older version concludes that the ray has transferred his powers to his younger self and that he needs to find a way to reverse it. However, young Barry is excited to discover his new abilities and decides to test them by running at high speed through Central City. He manages to run without too much difficulty, but soon discovers that the super speed causes friction in his clothes, which start to catch fire. Desperate, Barry tries to stop in the middle of the road, but the fire in his clothes, together with the lightning he produces from the friction, generates strong energy discharges. As a result, the young man destroys lampposts, causes car crashes and is left completely unclothed in the middle of the city. Fortunately, he manages to escape and returns to his apartment. There, the adult Barry tries to teach him how to use his powers, but the youngster just wants to eat, due to his accelerated metabolism, and seconds later he falls into a deep sleep from the effort. The next morning, the two meet in a hidden field to start training. The older Barry also lends his Flash costume, which is stored in his ring. With everything ready, the two decide to start training, with the aim of bringing the adult Barry back to his original time. However, they notice that the people around them are acting strangely. The two go to investigate and discover that the planet is being invaded by Zod, the alien from Krypton, Superman's planet. Barry explains that, in his timeline, the villain was stopped by the Man of Steel and that they need to find him as soon as possible. Unfortunately, Barry finds nothing about Superman or the Justice League in this reality. He then deduces that, by changing the past, he ended up creating a reality where meta-human heroes don't exist. Luckily, there is still a superhero in this timeline, Batman. The two Barry Allens set off for Wayne Manor and find the place apparently abandoned. Nevertheless, they enter the house and investigate the kitchen, but no one is around. Unbeknownst to them, a bearded, gray-haired man sneaks into the house and sets out to attack them. Without his powers, the adult Barry becomes an easy target and is knocked down by the guy. However, when he jumps up to attack the younger Barry, he just dodges with his speed and the bearded man crashes into a table. The fight ends and the two Barrys ask who the mysterious man is, who reveals that he is Bruce Wayne, the Batman. It is revealed that by changing the timeline, Barry has not only altered the events, but also the moment in which they occurred, resulting in an older Bruce Wayne in this reality. Despite this, Barry asks Batman to help him fight Zod and get everything back to normal, but Batman refuses because he's retired from fighting crime. Bruce then leaves and Barry decides to go to the Batcave in search of a solution. There, they find the computers still working, as well as the legendary Batmobile. Barry then searches for Superman's whereabouts, but there is no news of him anywhere. With no other choice, Barry asks Bruce for help to fix his mistake and save the world. Even though he's reluctant, he decides to help the young man and gives him a confidential file on a powerful being from outer space who is being held in a secret base in Siberia. Barry assumes it's Superman and decides to go there with his other version. Before he does, Bruce appears in front of them, wearing his cape and cowl once again, and offers them a ride in his jet. Hours later, they arrive in Siberia and find the secret base. The two Barrys go down to the laboratory, but the younger Barry drops a shovel and attracts the attention of the scientists. Because of this mistake, the local army is called in and they fire on the invaders. The younger Barry activates his powers and manages to dodge the bullets, but they are still surrounded by several soldiers. Luckily, above them is the Dark Knight, who swoops down with his cape to help Barry. At the sight of the Batman, the soldiers fire their weapons, but Batman protects himself with his cape and strikes back with his batarangs. There are still two soldiers left and the hero uses his grappling hook to pull one of them out and attack him with a spinning kick. The second soldier tries to engage Batman in a hand-to-hand fight, but receives a series of punches and is thrown away. The fight is over, but the laboratory alarm has been triggered. With no time to lose, the trio set off for the place where Superman is being held, in a kind of cell, hanging by chains. When they enter, they don't find the Man of Steel, but a very weak young woman. Even so, the adult Barry decides to take her and the group heads for the exit. On the way, one of the scientists appears and points a gun at the three of them, but young Barry takes him out without difficulty. Unfortunately, he gets distracted for a second and doesn't notice when more soldiers appear and shoot him in the leg. Batman immediately runs to protect him with his cape and then throws a gas grenade to obstruct the soldiers' view. The group is forced back into the cell and down a tunnel beneath it. When they reach the bottom, they find the exit blocked by a grill and Batman uses his blowtorch to open it. Seconds later, more soldiers appear and start shooting at the chains to bring the cage down on the invaders. At the last minute, Batman manages to open the grill and everyone climbs down the hole before being crushed. At the end of the tunnel, they find a huge rocket and a disabled elevator. Batman tells everyone to get into the elevator and places a detonator underneath so that they can go up with the force of the explosion. The plan works and they reach the top of the secret base, but are soon surrounded by more armed soldiers. There seemed to be no chance of the heroes escaping, but the day dawned and the sun's rays began to be absorbed by the young prisoner's body. Suddenly, she regains her strength and, like Superman, is able to fly and fight with superhuman strength. The young woman quickly finishes off all the soldiers with ease and saves the group, but she soon collapses from the effort. Afterwards, Batman takes everyone back to his mansion to nurse their wounds. Meanwhile, the two Barrys see the young woman unconscious and wonder who she might be. Shortly afterwards, the young woman awakens and reveals that she is Kara, one of the last survivors of Krypton. What's more, she is the cousin of Kal-El, the one who was destined to become Superman. However, for unknown reasons, his ship did not land on Earth in this reality. After the conversation, young Barry takes Kara to the roof of the mansion so that she can recharge her batteries. Meanwhile, the adult Barry asks Bruce to help him replicate the accident that gave him his powers, because only together will they be able to defeat Zod. Despite the risk, he accepts and the two of them build a special chair connected to a lightning rod. Hours later, the experiment begins and Barry receives an electrical discharge from a bolt of lightning, but his powers don't return. Then Kara appears and flies him up into the sky so that he can receive a bolt of lightning directly into his body. The plan works and despite his injuries, Barry regains his powers as the Flash and young Barry returns his costume, while creating a new one with an old Batman costume. Now it's time to stop the plans of Zod, who has set up his army on a military base. And so the two Flashes, along with Kara and Batman, come together to stop this threat, thus creating the Justice League of this reality. Batman takes the two Barry Allens on his ship, accompanied by Kara, who spots Zod's base in the middle of the desert. Suddenly, several shots and missiles are fired and, while the Flashes land on solid ground to stop the Kryptonian army, Batman controls the air combat and Kara sets off to confront Zod. The plan is put into action and Kara goes to meet Zod, who reveals his plan to terraform the planet and create a new Krypton. What's more, he tells her that the secret to recreating her old home lies in Kara's DNA, and not Kal-El's as many believed. Because of this, he destroyed the ship carrying the baby, sparing only Kara so that he could carry out his plan. Upon hearing this, Supergirl becomes enraged and fires her heat vision at the villain, followed by powerful punches against him. Nearby, Batman is pursued by 2 Kryptonian ships. In a quick maneuver, he fires 2 harpoons, attached to cables, at each ship, which causes them to attach themselves to a mountain and crash into each other. At the same time, both Barrys try to contain the villains on land, but the younger Barry is still inexperienced with his powers. So the older one suggests disarming the enemies, while the younger one finishes them off with powerful blows. To do this, the adult Barry creates a huge tornado to lift up his enemies and the younger Barry attacks him with a double kick. The strategy works, but the effort generates static energy in young Barry, who unloads it completely on one of Zod's henchmen. The maneuver works and the 2 Flashes decide to use it to their advantage. They run across the battlefield at high speed and use the static energy discharges to lift up their enemies and attack them mercilessly. The battle continues and Batman takes his fighter towards Zod's big ship. He fires his missiles at it, but the deflector shields protect it and the ship strikes back with a laser shot, which hits the hero's ship squarely. Seeing this, the Flashes go in search of Kara to help Batman, but she is still in combat with Zod. After many blows, the villain seems to be defeated and Supergirl tries to use the control of his bracelet to deactivate the terraforming machines. However, the villain was only pretending and in Kara's moment of distraction, he pierces her with his blade. He then uses a machine to absorb her genetic material to complete his plan to create a new Krypton. If that wasn't bad enough, Batman realizes that there's no way out of the ship. So, as his last heroic act, he takes his jet to Zod's big ship and blows it up. Without Kara and Batman, the adult Barry has no hope of saving the world. However, young Barry decides to go back in time, using the same strategy as his version from the future, and creates a Chronosphere, which also allows him to return to the past. With that, they both return minutes before Batman's ship is hit and Kara is eliminated. The plan works, but it's not long before Batman is attacked by one of Zod's henchmen. Batman fires missiles at the villain, but he's too strong and jumps into his jet. With no alternative, Batman triggers the ejector seat and lets the ship crash, along with the Kryptonian, but he still manages to survive. Far away, Kara continues to fight Zod and young Barry sets out to help her. He creates a huge tornado around the villain to obstruct his vision and give Supergirl the chance to hit him with her punches. The strategy works, but only momentarily, because Zod manages to concentrate and lands a powerful blow on Kara. To make matters worse, he hits her again and manages to extract her genetic material. In another part of the battle, Batman returns for a second round against the powerful Kryptonian and uses his grenades to destroy him. After many attempts, the hero leaves a grenade hidden in the head of the villain, who is stunned by the explosion, but still remains alive. Unfortunately, the fight leaves Batman seriously injured and the grown-up Barry sets out to help him. However, it's too late and the hero once again succumbs to his injuries. Faced with this scenario of death and destruction, the adult Barry realizes that he cannot prevent the inevitable. However, his young version refuses to believe this and once again creates a Chronosphere so that he can go back in time until he can resolve everything. This impulsive act begins to corrupt the fabric of time and several timelines begin to collide. In this, several different versions of Superman, Batman and other heroes appear before the Flash, but the existence of each of them is threatened by the changes made by the young man. Finally, the adult Barry tells his young version to stop and reveals that all this happened because he changed their mother's fate. Because of this, they need to let fate take its course, as there are things that can't be resolved. Even so, the younger Barry doesn't give up and wants to change time as many times as necessary. Then his adult version tries to stop him, but he is struck down by the same mysterious being who pushed him out of the Chronosphere before. Barry uses his speed to strike the individual, who turns out to be young Barry. He says that, over many ages, he has tried to change everyone's destiny, without realizing that this has totally corrupted his body and mind. Upon hearing this, the Barry of the present asks him to stop, otherwise the entire multiverse will be destroyed. However, his corrupted version doesn't care and sets out to attack him, only for young Barry to step in and take the blow to protect his older version. Tragically, young Barry dies in his arms and because of this, his corrupted version is also eliminated. Faced with this loss and the possible end of the world, Barry decides to put things right and goes back in time to the day his mother was at the market. He improvises a disguise and goes to talk to her. Even though she doesn't recognize her son, Nora notices that the young man in front of her is very upset and gives him a hug to comfort him. Barry is moved by this gesture, but he knows what needs to be done. He then removes the can of tomatoes from the shopping trolley, says goodbye to his mother one last time and prepares to return to his own time, but realizes that his presence has been captured by the market's cameras. Even so, he returns to the present and believes that everything is back to normal. Minutes later, he gets ready for his father's trial, and there, the defense lawyer shows him the recording of the market. However, the video shows Henry's face, thus proving his alibi. Thanks to this, he is cleared of the charges, which makes Barry very happy. After the hearing, Bruce calls Barry and says he'll meet him soon. Soon afterwards, he emerges from inside the car, but it's a different version of Bruce Wayne who appears. Barry realizes that by appearing on the market's cameras, he has created another reality and that he will have to go back in time and correct his mistake once again. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.